Hello and welcome to week 5 of Leadership 625 Resource Management. In week 5, we're going to start getting deeper into our final project for this class. So the readings for this week are The Power of the People, chapters 10 to 13, Project Management for Dummies, chapter 12 and 6, and the Bike Shedding web article. Our activities, of course, are completing the assigned readings, watching and reviewing any videos that are posted, completing the discussion, and then this week we have our balanced scorecard project assignment. So thinking about these readings, so you can see that the Project Management for Dummies is chapters 12 and 16. We will be skipping chapters 13, 14, and 15 in this class. There is good information there. There's just only so much time in an 8-week class to cover information. And some of the project information gets far beyond any of the project management and planning many of you will be doing as part of a position. Many of the things in this chapter focus on people who do project management for a living. Good reading. I encourage you to look at them on your free time. The next article is about bike shedding. So bike shedding is a concept that came about looking at project management, how teams work together, how groups interact and communicate with each other. And what bike shedding figured out, or what bike shedding talks about, is this phenomenon where we have issues with getting to the actual matter. And instead, it's easier to hold up meetings spinning about things that actually aren't important to the completion of the project. So in this example, the color of the bike shed rather than the form and function of a bike shed. So it's instead of making decisions about things that are actually important to projects, we find ourselves focusing on a bunch of things that aren't important as part of the process. Okay. The Power of People book, you started into this last week. So this book is a human resource book. But one of the things that I really like about it is that it focuses on, as I was saying before my dog interrupted me, the Power of the People book is applicable to so many things outside of human resource information. There is a lot of data analysis, meeting techniques for putting project teams together. Everything that is mentioned in this book is applicable to a wide variety of departments, projects, and things outside of human resource. So we're going to talk about the various information for the reading. So chapter 10 from Power of the People is talking about knowing your data. Understanding that there is no such thing as perfect data. We try to get as much data as we can, but all data is flawed. And there is a lot of different ways in which data can be flawed. So there are many common data challenges. For example, missing data. Maybe you just can't collect the information you need. Maybe one of the reasons you need the information is because there's no way to collect it or measure it. Maybe you did a survey and only 10% of your respondents filled it out and they skipped a bunch of questions. The next is outdated data. So using past data that isn't really showing what today's current events are. An example of this is in the finance industry, we recommend using 3 to 5 years of historic data as part of creating future models to predict our future needs, future financial projections, future needs for inventory, etc. However, because COVID in 2020 disrupted all of that information, from supply chain issues to company shutdowns to changes in consumer buying habits, we no longer have 3 to 5 years of information that is stable information that we can use for financial projections. Now we have pre-COVID data and past COVID data. And past COVID data is still changing. There's still a lot of volatility within financial information for that. No data available. We talked about that. There's a lot of reasons that we might not have data available. Maybe you're trying something new for which no data has ever been generated before. And so you're just going to have to try it and see how it works. You're the person creating the first round of data. Non-normal distributions. So we have a lot of outliers. For example, this is one of the things happening post-COVID with a lot of financial data, supply chain data, business data, is we have non-normal distributions. The market has not had any consistency in the last 3 years. That also applies to outliers. So we have extreme outliers on either side. So another way that you can think of outliers is maybe what we're collecting data about is people. So we're collecting data about people. Well, here's the thing. Everyone's a unique person. Every single person is a unique individual. And even though we can kind of predict some things based on patterns, there are a lot of things about human behavior and human experiences that end up in that outlier information, because not all humans are perfect, and humans are irrational and unpredictable beings, really, at the end of the day. The next issue with data is inconsistent definitions. So an example of inconsistent definitions is that you yourself define something in a very specific way. But if you talk to someone else in your organization, they understand it differently. So it's very important when you are collecting data to create a data dictionary where you have definitions about what that data is actually saying, instead of opening those definitions up for interpretation. Okay. Knowing your technology. What technology do you need to support and achieve your mission? Do you just need access to a survey tool? Are you running statistical analysis on this survey data? Do you need someone to pay someone else to do this for you because you don't have access to the software expertise necessary to do that? What technology do you need to store and analyze data? One, when we're talking about storing data, we need to think about the safety of that data and how we're protecting it. Who has access to it? Who needs access to it if it could be hacked? And so these are a lot of things that we think about, and it really depends on how sensitive your data is. Some projects and some organizations, when we think about nonprofit interventions and other things, that data is very sensitive, and we would not want that information to fall into the wrong hands. So we want to make sure that we have a very secure data repository. And then how will we report that data? Are we going to create an annual report? Are we going to create a project report? How are we going to report data out to the people in our organization or even outside of our organization who might be interested in it? And what kind of technology do we need in order to do that? Do we simply need access to PowerPoint? Are we going to use Excel to create visuals? Are we going to use a visual dashboarding tool such as Power BI or Tableau? The possibilities in technology are actually endless. Okay. Then who do we need on our team? Okay. So this book talks about several people that you could potentially have on your team, that you want a good mixture of people and a good mixture of skill sets. You want to have people who are good at data, people who know human resource information, people who know about work psychology, communication in the workplace, how teams and organizations function and work together or don't work together. On a small team, or when you don't have a lot of people available, then a single person has to serve all or multiple roles. In this situation, there are often strengths and weaknesses where the person might be really strong in a couple of these things like analytics, but not as strong in the communication or work psychology. In this case, you should seek out people and information that can benefit you with the skills that you are missing. Okay, and this is the partnering for skills. So why partner for skills? No person knows how to do everything. Okay, we all have our abilities. I know you've taken the Clifton Strengths Finders as part of this organization. So we recognize that no one is good at everything, but some people are really great at the things that they're really great at. So knowing who those people are, either in your organization or outside of your organization, and knowing that you can go to them for help. Who do you need to talk to about finding technology skills that you might be missing? Or who can help you work out a financial budget? Who can help you learn how to use a new technology? Or even what resources are available to you to get this project done or to get any project completed? And then what are the roles and responsibilities on your team? So who's actually in charge of your team? Who is responsible for making sure that the project pieces are done on time, for delegating tasks to team members, for keeping track of the project calendar, dealing with micromanagement? So this happens to the best of us, where we micromanage our people and teams instead of trusting that the reason that they're on our team is because they have specific skill sets that we need. And we should be able to trust them to provide those skill sets to us instead of hovering over them, concerned whether or not they're going to complete the task that we need them to. Okay. And then encouraging that peak performance. As you've worked through this program and you're in your second year now, you've talked about different leadership theories. And you should understand the difference between leadership and management. Management is directing tasks. So management is positional. You've been put in a supervisory role. You are in charge of other people, where leadership does not have to be positional. Leadership is about encouraging others to do what they do best, trusting them to do what they do best, but it's also helping to sustain motivation for your project, especially as we have very long projects sometimes that it's hard to maintain motivation to get to completion. So keeping your team motivated, keeping your team on task, and then thinking about DEI issues within your team. Now, we are going to have an entire class where we talk about DEI within the workplace and working with diverse teams. Okay, and now we come to your final assignment for this class, which is a balanced scorecard. For this week, you will submit a draft of that final assignment. So we are in week 5, and in week 5, you're going to submit a draft. In week 6, one of your peers in this class is going to get a copy of your draft, and they are going to provide you a peer review on your draft. And then you'll have week 7 and 8 to finalize to a final project assignment. So thinking about the different things that you need in this assignment. First, you're going to build a balanced scorecard. Okay. As you know, in order to build a balanced scorecard, you need to have KPIs first. So you need to have a minimum of 3 to 5 KPIs per each of the 4 perspectives of the balanced scorecard, which are financial, customer, internal processes, and external processes. Those KPIs should follow SMART rules, so they should be specific, measurable, attainable, and relevant. You need to think about a resource list. Think broadly about this resource list. Make a list of all necessary resources for your project. So I'm talking about people, time, meeting space, technology, information repositories, data repositories, websites, supplies, meeting snacks, etc. And then think about your budget. You might say, I'm a volunteer and it's really just my time and resources, and so there really is no budget. But think about, when I want you to think about the budget, I want you to also think about the fact that volunteers are giving you their time. And time is a very valuable resource, and there is a cost to that. What would happen instead of with volunteers, you would have to pay someone else for that or just do it yourself. If you're using an online repository for information, there is often a cost for that, to maintain it, to keep that information secure, to have access to features. Sometimes it's a low cost to create a website. Sometimes it's very expensive to create a website. But think about that. If you have access to a free meeting space now, what happens if that free meeting space disappears and you have to find and pay for a meeting space? So try to really think about this stuff as detailed as you can get. Now, as I said, this week is a draft. Now, I encourage you to have the best draft that you can get, to make this as complete as possible so that the feedback that you receive next week in week 6 from your peers and from myself is really just helping you refine the final project. Okay? Enjoy week 5.